What is up, guys? Listen, it is Wednesday, not Thursday, but I need to make the video today. But first, I wanted to stop and ask a question. What is the most expensive thing you have ever bought? This is mine. Her name's Carol. I actually lied in that first shot. The most expensive thing I've ever bought is college, but it can't really take a video of that for dramatic effect. What is the most expensive thing you've ever bought, though? Think about it. Take a moment and think about it. Do you remember what it was like to work up for it and how long it took you to save up for it? And the hours and hours and hours and hours you worked and worked and worked and worked and eventually had enough money that you bought it. And you remember going and buying it and how satisfying it was to finally have this thing that you had been spending so much time and energy and your resources on. Do you remember what that felt like and how fulfilling it was, how good it was to finally have the investment of your work pay off? Well, today I want to tell you guys the story that Jesus told, the parable of the talents. And it's talking about these guys who were supposed to invest in these things and how it was supposed to pay off. So Jesus is talking about the kingdom of heaven and what heaven's like. And he says this, again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities, and then he left on his trip. Often the story is called the parable of the talents, and back then, talent was not only something you did, like a talent of singing or a talent of playing guitar, but it was actually a measurement of money, and it was the equivalent to 20 years of wages. So the amount of money you make per year times 20. The average salary in America today is $59,000. 20 times $59,000 equals $1,180,000. So that is the modern day equivalent of 1 talent. So just think about this. The servant who got 5 talents got $5,900,000. That's a lot. And notice how the master divided up his money, right? He didn't give the same amount of money to everyone. He gave the person who had great ability more money. He gave the person with average ability average amount of money. And he gave the person with low ability 1 amount of money, 1 talent. The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money he earned and earned 5 more. So he had 5, he invested it, and he earned 5 more. So he doubled the amount of money. The servant who had 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. He doubled the amount of money. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver, the 1 talent, dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. Right? So the first 2 guys, they double the amount of money that they make. Right? So they're given this amount and they double it. The last guy, what he does is he takes this money and he literally goes and buries it in the ground for safekeeping. After a long time, the master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they used his money. The servant whom he entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more. And he said, "Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest and I earned 5 more." And get this, the master was full of praise. "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount. Now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." The servant who had received 2 bags of silver came forward and said, "Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 2 more." And the master said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." These first 2 guys, they were faithful with what their master had given them, and so much so that their master gave them a promotion. Then the servant with 1 bag of silver came and said, Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here's your money back. But the master replied, You wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it. Then he ordered, Take the money from the servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. What was the problem with the third servant? Well, he wasn't faithful with what he had been given. He hid it. He tried to... He wasn't really as responsible. He wasn't as creative with it. He literally hid the talent that was given to him. And it's important to note, he wasn't doing something bad on purpose. It's actually the lack of his action, which is why his master calls him lazy and unfaithful, because he did nothing with what he had been given, unlike the other 2 guys. What do you think held back the third servant? Why didn't he invest it? Why didn't he come up with some business idea to make money back? Why did he literally just hide it? What held him back? Fear. Fear held him back. He was scared that he was going to lose his master's money, so instead of doing something, he did nothing. I wonder how often fear holds us back. We know we're supposed to do something. God's put something on our heart. God has told us to go talk to somebody, but we don't do it because we're afraid. Verse 29 says this, To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. See, Jesus wasn't just talking about money. He was talking about something a lot bigger. He was talking about our lives and the talents, the God-given talents that he has given us. See, a talent is an opportunity to use the ability that God has given us to either minister or help somebody or to do whatever God wants us to do with it. But it's an opportunity for us to use our ability. What are your talents? What are the things God's entrusted you with? What's the things God has gifted you with? Even more general than just talents like singing and stuff like that. Well, what do we know that even in the most general sense God has given to us? Life. He has given us our life. So how are you using your life? How are you using your life to help the people around you know Jesus? How are you using your life to help people around you just in general? See, the question becomes, have you been faithful with your life? Are you faithfully following Jesus? Are you faithfully acting in trust of his will? And you're saying, Jesus, I want to be faithful to you. God, I want to be a faithful servant. I want to know you more. Are you following Jesus? Are you, is your life dedicated to following him? Do you even know Jesus? Have you decided, yes, God, because of the gifts you have given me of this life of salvation, my life is now yours? I wonder if it's possible if the third servant didn't do something because he thought that the amount he had was so little. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's just 1 talent. No one will really notice if I don't invest it. And no one will even really notice if I lose it. No one will even really notice if I double it, because it's so small. It's pointless. It's tiny. I wonder if we do the same thing with our lives. We say this kind of stuff all, God, I'm just a kid. God, I don't have any special gifts that you've given me to bring your gospel and your truth to other people. God, I don't know what you want from me. Do you ever feel that way about your life? That it's so small and so minuscule that no one would notice. No one would notice if you did try to talk to them about Jesus. You feel like you don't have any special gifts to help people know Jesus more. You feel like you have nothing to bring to God, and so after all, no one would notice, so why even bother? The truth is that's a lie. God has gifted you in so many ways I can think of. Whatever special talents you have, which you have, whatever special desires He's placed on your heart, He has given that to you. And just think about your life, your very life, and the people around you. Those are all people you can share the message of the gospel with. Those are all people you can share Jesus' love with. So here's what the question becomes. If God wants you to be faithful with what He has entrusted you and what He has gifted you with, are you being faithful? Are you being faithful with your life? And I think there's two questions, right? With the gifts and the placement that God has placed you in, are you using that to help people know Jesus more? Are you using that to help build His kingdom? Are you using those gifts? And then the second thing is, have you given God your life? Have you literally said, God, I want to know you. Jesus, I want to know you more. I need you. And you know what? I am dedicating my life to follow you. If you haven't done that, I pray that you do that. I pray right here and now that you would give your life to Jesus. Guys, thanks for watching this video. Look, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. I love you all. Bye.